pretty back them up. Boom. End of story. There is no other crypto out there. So don't get it twisted. If you don't understand where you're parking your money, you're going to pay the consequences for that. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. Boom. We're obliterating everybody. Literally. There is nobody else that comes close to what Hex has done. Boom. Oh, it's about to get funky. Funkier than you could have ever imagined. You know, Richard Hart is a boss. Hex is literally the best thing on the planet. It's simple mathematics. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's the secret. The God well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. This motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. Man, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all deep. Everybody. My God. Hex Asians, bro. Everybody. Australians, man. Everybody gets me. Yo, when is it told you? Dollar told you. Everybody done told you. It's crazy. What up? What up? What's going on? How you doing, brother?
Hey, it's good to be back. It's good to be back. I'm excited to be streaming again.
Yeah, man, you've been on a little vacay for a little bit, but now it's time to get back to brass tacks, as they say.
It's time to get back to work. Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. It's been about a week or two since we last streamed, and
yeah.
Look, the biggest thing that's happened, interestingly enough, has been literally happened 2 days ago, or 5 days ago, 6 days ago, where the Mastercard CEO stated that he forecasts that we will no longer need the SWIFT system in 5 years. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that's huge news, actually.
Yeah, just a little bit. Nobody's talking about that, which is funny.
Weird, huh? Because I'm pretty
really.
sure somebody's been talking about how dog shit Swift is and how it has no place in the future for a really long time. I don't know who that was. Who is that? I think that was Wales.
Might have been somebody. Who knows, man?
Might have been Wales talking about that for a really long time.
Could have been anybody. Who knows? But point is, they're letting everybody know it's time. And
yeah, they're broadcasting it.
Yeah.
It tends to go through cycles like that. Like depending on how much you pay attention, right? Those of you listening, it goes through this. There's an interesting part to the cycle. So part of it is that they'll go and seed all this content, which years later they'll use, and then they'll point back that and because of its age, its authority is given. But another thing that they'll do is they'll tell you exactly what they're going to do before they do it.
Yes.
And then there's other pieces to it too. Like let's talk about another piece, which is sometimes it's opposite day. Like they have to come out and tell you about the thing that's actually not happening. Like for example, a great example of this would be inflation is transitory, which was the mantra for like a year. But it wasn't. We all knew it wasn't, and they knew it wasn't. But they had to try and speak it into existence by getting on TV and telling you. So the one that they're doing now is Bullard just came out yesterday and said that the U.S. dollar is going to remain the reserve currency for the foreseeable future. Well, no, that's not true. And it's it's not true because they're voicing that. And so the fact that they're trying to even say that is that, again, they're trying to speak that into existence and get enough people to remember that and buy back into it. Because the U.S. dollar is just like any Ponzi. It requires everyone to buy into it every minute of every day. And if you don't, and when that begins to falter, and if it falters at a high enough degree, then it's fucked and it collapses. That's really what happens with Ponzi's, is that the belief in the value of this thing just goes away. And it seems like it just disappears overnight.
Yeah, it deflates like a balloon that pops, right? One moment is
Yes.
there, the next minute is not. And this is why
Yeah.
I try to tell people, like, you have to be ready. You cannot
Yeah.
pretend to think you will get some type of warning because you will not. There is no warning. It's
Oh,
just here
100%. Yeah.
and then it's not.
They're
And
not
that's
going to come out and just say, "Hey guys,
no.
we were wrong. We're really sorry. Dollar's
Yo,
fucked.
hold
Run
on.
to gold."
Speaking of we were wrong, something that has never happened in the history of policy making dumb happened yesterday. And I
You
forgot.
talking about Janet Yellen admitting she was wrong?
Bingo.
I saw that too.
Yo, do you
I was like,
realize
"Damn."
how that's total that's level of total annihilation. For them to ever admit being wrong is like them saying, okay, we're ready to unravel the scarf or the sock or the shirt or whatever the thing garment
Yeah.
is you want. They're ready. Yo, they are ready. They are never ever wrong, even when they are, folks. So for them to admit that they are wrong about anything ever lets us know one thing: 5 years is a lie.
Yeah.
Fact. So you better start getting ready and stop fucking around.
Well, also too, I would caveat that in saying like they never admit that they're wrong when they're still in a position of power. Afterwards, like when they're getting their speaking fees, their obscene speaking fees, they can admit that they were wrong. Like, oh yeah, we got inflation wrong, and nobody really gives a fuck because first off, they're getting paid for the speaking fee and they already paid for it, so they don't care to admit that they're wrong. But like, it's not like the public goes up in arms. But to say something like
Well,
that
nobody
is
really
so
even
much,
knows, right?
yeah. But to say that while still being in an active position like she is,
Yeah, that's what I
big,
mean. Yeah,
big,
that's
big, big,
big.
big, big.
It's
I,
huge.
I don't know if that's ever been done. I'm gonna
No,
tell you.
it's
I
never
don't
been
think I've
done.
ever heard that.
It's yo, if it's happened, it was not in our lifetimes, and if it was, it was what's the guy's name? I know his last name was Burns. Burns, Fed president. Martin Burns. I mean, he's from the 50s,
I
right?
don't know. And like, how was that broadcasted back then? Like, did people
I
even
don't
hear it? Did he
remember.
even
I don't
admit it
remember.
publicly? I don't
I
know.
don't remember. I would have to go back because I used to like read. Like I'm a real weird dude. I would go like and read Fed minutes from like back in the day just to see. Well, that's how you know. Well,
Yeah,
how else do I know all this stuff? It's not by magic. You put in the work.
yeah. My
People
my weird
gotta
addiction
understand
is
that.
my weird addiction is I go back and read like old school newsletters from like
There
Tiger
you go.
and like old like
Same
Tiger Oil,
difference.
not Tiger
What's the
Finance,
difference?
Tiger Oil,
But what's the
and
difference? There isn't
yeah,
any.
same shit. But I can
Same thing.
appreciate how blunt those motherfuckers were back then too, versus
Right.
like what we're dealing with now, to where it's like you got to white glove
It's
everything
all political
because
bullshit now.
yeah, because safe spaces and the shit
Mm,
we were talking about in the green room
correct.
because of that. So let's not talk about that though. I don't
Right.
want to get the stream taken down.
Sure, sure. Appreciate the super chats and the super stickers, by the way, guys.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude, it's flowing, baby. It is flowing today.
Yeah,
So I wanted to kind of take a side note here for a sec,
do it.
is if I could, is I think Hexicans oftentimes forget like who the fuck they are. Okay, so first off, you got to understand the landscape of everything. Okay, and this is what led to the 2009 crash. Is what leads to every crash. Is that people put more weight on short-term gains, and they will often make fun of and try and discourage you from delaying your gratification. So that is like the baseline. Understand that. Like every day of the week, you go outside and you start talking about you're invested in something for 10 years, 15 years. They will fucking laugh at you. Everyone will laugh at you. Maybe not Warren Buffett, maybe not Charlie Munger, but 99% of people will laugh in your fucking face and call you an idiot for believing in anything that could possibly last that long. So it tells you that fundamentally. So we see attention spans going down, and now it's like 3 milliseconds or something to make an impression, otherwise people tune out, right? The average YouTube video went from 15 minutes to 7 minutes. So attention spans are an issue, which the corollary to that is also people's ability to be able to hold on to something is gone down. So their ability to be able to wait, just chill out, motherfucker, wait, has gone down, right? So for them, 2 years, 1 year, fucking, you know what I mean? A marriage, all of this sounds like impossible, huge, crazy, insane-o shit to them. So of course they're never going to understand a 10-year stake, a 15-year stake. So you are betting on, you're betting on yourself with that, first and foremost. but you're betting on and you're staking with confidence your dollars into a mathematical contract that you think will be around in 10 years, 15 years. So, okay, just even if it doesn't last that long, who gives a shit? Because you just proved to yourself that you believe in yourself and that you made the ultimate bet on yourself that you can hold out. So even just that, even if it never lasts, it doesn't matter because you've already won by just your willingness to be able to stake and make that bet on yourself. Yeah. So let's get that crystal clear. Like I know that there's a ton of people freaking the fuck out with the price action and stuff, and that's normal. But remember who you are, what we're doing here, and what the actual game is. And that's such a big fundamental shift. You got to understand it took me a long time to realize the value in HEX because I came through the ranks of what most people come through, which is short-term trading, you know, in and out of positions. The longest position you take is like a couple days, right? Like that whole fucking
days. You crazy? We ain't even doing overnight. Stop playing.
Yes. That is what's baked into reality.
People don't really know, right? Because we don't talk about that stuff. We don't talk about it at all, really. We don't.
And so it's just like to change that lens and to shift that is such a big step. It's such a big step. And so you'll never get most people because of that fact. Mm-hmm. Just like if you look at legacy, why do you think most people think they look at Bitcoin, they look at crypto, whatever you want to call crypto or promise coin space, they look at that as a big scam. And the reason why is because, guys, it is. It's just a different scam than what they're used to. The US dollar, the structuring of how organizations work, it's all a Ponzi scheme. All of it. It needs new blood. It needs new money. It needs new people coming into the system so that old people can get out. Series A, Series B funding, pre-stage, post-stage, IPOs, all of it is a motherfucking Ponzi. The only reason why they had to create the word Ponzi scheme and the whole definition of it is so that they could point at things they didn't like and didn't want around and sick a 3-letter agency onto those things to get rid of them so that their Ponzi could keep going. That's the only reason why that word even fucking exists. Why that definition exists is so that they could just essentially cast out by popular vote, which is in this case a 3-letter agency, the fucking shit that they don't want around. That's it, guys. So everything's a fucking Ponzi. Let's just be crystal clear about that. But ours are better. Like the internet ones are better because they're operating off of code, not Jerome Powell to come on TV and tell you when QE, which is printing more money, is starting, or QT, which is tightening money supply, is happening. We don't care about that. We don't need that guy on TV. We don't need any motherfuckers telling us because the code is telling us. That's why these win no matter what. Right? So I'm just trying to remind you guys of shit you probably already know, but maybe you've forgotten. Maybe the fears crept into your brains and it's poisoned the well a little bit. So let's get back on track here with all this, right?
Well, it's all relevant, right?
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Why is it we don't have to worry about that? We don't have to worry about it because it's irrelevant. I mean, as trite as it sounds and as trivial as it sounds, it's the most indicative point to focus on. Because if it mattered, then we would be concerned. But because it is not relevant in any which way, shape, or form, who cares? Because it's just like so one thing I did do while you was out, Jay, is that I went over a real basic stream. Explain to people, well, a couple streams. Where the first one was really explaining to people why it is they need to have crypto. The second one was really explaining how they need to look at their finances so that they can successfully play the game, right? And step one is them understanding that crypto is a fixed asset, right? One hex is one hex, one BTC is one BTC, etc. Mm-hmm. And step two is understanding that the only variable item here is the dollar. So that's your opportunity bucket right there. Right. And if you learn to separate those two facets of the game, then you can win. Yeah. Because then you're playing two different games.
Yeah, 100%. They are two different worlds and two different realities, even though they are denominated and bridged together and it makes it seem like they're together. They're not.
They're not. And people had to really understand that, because what do we like? We're capable of doing something that nobody else is capable of, and that's stacking crypto without having to add additional fiat.
Yeah.
So all we have to do as Hexicans that are choosing to stake is continuously bridge the fiat that we don't need to survive, right, on our balance sheet over to our asset side, into the crypto world, into the crypto bucket, so that we're constantly improving our balance sheet, because that's what it's about. It's about having more assets than liabilities. And here's a fact: no matter the fact that you need fiat to survive, fiat does not beget more fiat, so you need crypto in order to get you more fiat. That's the only way you survive, because inflation is not going to let you do it otherwise.
Yeah, it's too strong now. And it's like,
Mhm.
just, you brought up something really, really important there, which is that we are trying to fundamentally reprogram ourselves and the I read that, that's why I was laughing. We're trying to fundamentally reprogram ourselves and the world around us. We are
Right.
trying to, this is essentially a giant marshmallow theory experiment
Yo,
where
seriously, oh
it's
my
like,
God.
where it's like, yo, you're gonna get one marshmallow now, or if you just hang out and wait for me to come back into the room, I'm gonna give you 5. That is what we're doing right now.
Or
So of
5,000.
course, yeah, or 5,000 or whatever.
Yeah.
So of course we are going to be met with the utmost amount of
Ridicule,
flack,
all
of
kinds of
ridicule. Yeah,
whatever,
because
everything.
you're basically asking people to be fundamentally different than they've been programmed to be for the last how many fucking decades. It's a tall order. Like, we're asking a lot.
For at least the last 4 to 5.
Yeah, dude, we are asking a lot. So remember that. Like, when you're getting frustrated and like, man, why the fuck is Hex being gate capped? And like, we haven't even begun to get gate capped, by the way. We haven't even begun to have, like, wait till regulators and these fucking
Figure
Elizabeth
out
Warren
what's
start
going
chasing
on.
after us. Yes.
Yeah, they haven't
They-
figured it out yet.
They will be saying the most obscene, stupid shit you've heard in your fucking life. If you thought you've heard dumb shit about, like, just what you're seeing in a general political landscape, it'll get so much worse. Because it, like, you want to talk about threats being posed against the system. Holy shit. If you thought Bitcoin was a threat, then what about this thing over here just slowly baking 38% APY?
Well, this is
That
the
is
thing that,
the
well,
ultimate threat.
you know, it's funny. And I don't mean no disrespect to anybody listening, but this is how you just know how many people involved in Hex just don't understand it. Because they always complain about regulation and taxes and all this and all that. And they don't realize that they are literally standing on the opposite side of all of that. They don't realize. So they don't, they talk about it like if it's, they talk about the other side, the non-crypto side, as if it's something to engage in a typical fashion. You see, and that's kind of the problem. That's one of the reasons you got an MCA. Because how do you protect yourself as an individual when you don't even know the system at all? And let me tell you something, the average person does not have a clue of how the legal system works in any which way.
Mhm.
And that's what this is all about. This is all about playing the legal system. Because
Yeah.
if you think you can have just millions of dollars in your name and it's okay, well, good luck.
Well, what's interesting is they've bridged that false reality of their
Mhm.
Ponzi with the money with the legal system.
Yeah,
And
they
I've
have.
mentioned this a lot. Like, the legal system is its own entity, its own world. And it has nothing to do with being right or wrong. It has to do with who has the most information and can convey that properly the day that it matters, which is the day of that court case. That's it. That's it. That's all that matters. And usually that's why you see guilty motherfuckers always walking,
Yep.
because they got better lawyers. And those
That's it.
lawyers know the books, the 2,000, 5,000 page books. They know that better than you. That's it.
That's what it really is.
So
I
it's
mean,
like, come on, dude.
you know, if you dedicate your time to studying a topic and, you know, you really, really put in the work, well, I think I'm a result of that, right? I mean, there's not anybody I can't debate and shut them down because they don't know finance and economics as good as me. They just don't. There is nobody out there that can debate me and beat me, period. It's not
And
even
I
a
think
question.
that's a worthy endeavor. Like, what else are you going to do with your time but understand the game and master the game? Like, that is the ultimate fucking thing to do.
Well,
So
what
why
other
wouldn't you do
game
that?
is there to, well, hold on. We all wake up every single day to do the same exact thing. And what's that? Make money.
Yeah.
But who's playing the game? Like 0.0000001% of us are actually playing the game.
Yeah.
That's something to think about. And you know what's funny? During the whole process of me busting my ass, taking my wins, taking my losses, I knew that. I knew that the day would come where I would be the guy, and everybody else will have to eat my dust. And here we are.
Yeah.
I didn't know it'd be crypto, but I knew the day would come because I put in the fucking work, bro. And you have to put in the work. It doesn't matter what the topic is, what the item is. It could be sports. I didn't put in the work for baseball and football. I didn't. I was a kid. I didn't know any better. But as an adult, I thought about that all the time as I was trying to learn this game. And that's really one of the main reasons why I never quit, actually. Now that I sit here and think about it. Yo, like we were talking about moments ago, you know, how people just don't know what it's like to try to survive in these markets. There were days where I wouldn't sleep, or I would stay up till 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, just to wake up again the next morning to trade again at like 8:39. Yeah. Or you would wake up in the middle of the night to trade the EU hours because the US hours sucked.
Yeah. Like I would oftentimes be woken up, like randomly woken up by alerts, trading view alerts going off.
Right. That's
like, those were my alarms.
Even talking about those. Yeah. Well, there you go.
Those were my alarms.
Yep.
I can tell you like the countless amounts of times that those woke me up, and those were my alarms. That price action woke me up, and it's like immediately act.
Yep.
So I'd have a buffer, so it's not just like, oh shit, here we go. Like you're abruptly waking up and like it's at the worst case scenario. I would buffer those, but yeah, dude, like that was my alarm clock was trade alerts.
Man. You know what's funny? I used to trade so much and watch the market so much, and shout out to GRC because this is true, right? Good stuff is gate kept. That is the secret sauce.
Yeah, man, always.
Because we people don't realize. This is funny. Now I don't want to divert too much, but we have all the alpha in the world. Hexicans have it.
That's right there in front of you.
Write that down.
It's right there in front of you.
Yeah.
And so there's constantly going to be the pull and the attractor, the detractors of your focus to like, no, come back to our Ponzi, come back to our scheme, come back to our scam.
And that's what you got to stay focused on. I mean,
ruthlessly focused.
I'm here trying not to get diverted, but we have all the alpha. This is why you have to stay focused on what we are talking about, because everybody else is literally lost. Look at the people out here that are talking about buying bonds and stocks. And
yeah, holy shit, dude. Oh my God, man.
Wow.
What the fuck are you even talking about?
Like, yo, you're
talking about that shit. Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, dude.
And it's like, yo, how do we go from a world where instant gratification is what's deemed success, and putting in work, becoming proficient in something, and all these other positive, or at least positive attributes in yesteryear are no longer valid, because that's where we're at. Yeah,
pretty much. And like they can get down with, you know, the hard work and your hustle and grind, but only if you tick all the other boxes. Right, like you're cool, you're a trader, you're gritty, whatever the fuck is the cool thing.
Whatever BS they want you to paint. Yeah.
For that week, by the way, because it always changes, so you have no clue what it might be this week. But if you can frame yourself to be like the cool guy that made it this week, then you're fucking in. You're in forever.
Yeah, literally. Literally.
Which, how stupid is that, dude?
It's extremely dumb. Doesn't even make any sense.
And so Hexicans, for the most part, will get the ultimate "I told you so" and the ultimate whatever you want to call it, because as you know, as this thing gets to 5 years, 10 years, etc., and people start pulling out like retarded amounts of money, which it's already been happening. But I actually think, like, I would love to see an actual study done on the amount of people who've gotten rich off of Hex versus any other asset, because I already think it's the highest. But statistically, it'd be cool to get that to like then be able to, with data points, rub it in people's face, because that's what they care about. But I think it's already there. 5-10 years from now, it's going to be so mental. You know what I mean? And that's when it's going to be really, really exciting, because it'll be like, hey, remember 5 years ago when we were like always streaming and we were always talking about this thing that you were making fun of, and you had like 3-second attention span? Yeah, well, that's what I was doing. So I hope at that point it can be used as such a huge learning tool,
Right.
like such a huge case study sampling can be done at that point, that maybe that'll crack the veneer of whatever the fuck retardedness is going on at that point. I hope, because if you think it's bad now, it's not like it's just going to flick the switch and get better overnight. There's a lot of change that has to happen to swing things the other way.
Yeah.
Things have to get worse first, I think, in order for them to get better.
People gotta learn that the way they view things is incorrect.
Yeah, and
right?
that comes from pain and suffering, unfortunately.
Yeah, which is rough, because this is the point of the stream, so people don't gotta go through. And thank you for the super chat, Janet Yellen. We appreciate you.
Only if it's the real Janet Yellen.
All right, only if it's the real Janet. And if it's the real one, I would appreciate the remaining 490, because I know how much you get paid for those speeches later.
Yes, exactly.
Stop playing.
Stop playing and up that dono, okay?
Annie up. We know what you make.
Exactly.
Anyway, my bad, bro. What was I saying?
I don't know. We were just talking shit anyway.
Yeah, but point is, understand that the game is set up in such a way that even when you enter the space of cryptocurrency, it's really not even cryptocurrency, and that's pretty crucial to understand, because that's how you don't end up in a coin that's going to rug you, or just deplete your whole life savings, or go from one day being there to the next day not being there.
Yeah, and I've actually asked you to define this, because words and their definitions are everything, right? Linguistics. Right. Yeah? So what you are taught to be crypto is actually the promise coin space. Yep. So let's just make it real simple. Everything with a roadmap, everything with a DAO, everything with a marketing team, everything that's got a team of people they're paying to be on social media, that is all fucking securities. That is all promise. That is all a future result that we are banking on this team, this person, to provide us with. And it's clearly stated on their websites that we are all banking on this person, right? Which falls under securities laws, and it is unspoken as well.
Yep.
So that whole space, even Bitcoin itself, because it's got Lightning Network, it's got developers, it's got a whole team of people that constantly are updating code, that need to fuck with block size now because of what happened in 2017. That whole thing, unfortunately, as much as I like Bitcoin as well, it is also a promise. It is also a security. It won't be litigated as a security, though. It'll be rolled into a commodity.
Right?
They'll let it ride because first mover advantage. Yeah, they'll throw it into commodity bucket for sure.
Yeah,
but it's not. It's actually not really. Nah. Based on their own rules of what securities laws are, it is actually security.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's what's funny, right? If you read a little bit, you come to discover a whole lot of funny stuff goes on.
Right. What I was going to say is, caveat is, okay, so how do we want to gauge this? Do we want to look at it as the entire life cycle of Bitcoin? Because there's been many points where it was a commodity, then a security, then a commodity, then a security, right? Right now, I would say, and where the direction is going, is it's a security. But when it first launched, and up until, I would say maybe when was the first hack? 2015? Up until that point, it was a commodity. Because no dev team, no updates, no nothing. So it was a commodity up till that point. So I guess that's why it'll be looked at as a commodity and treated as such. Because for a larger amount of its life in the beginning, it was actually a commodity versus security. But anyway, splitting hairs here.
But yeah, I mean, it's an important item to discuss, right? Because this is how you, as an investor in this space, kind of keep yourself out of the weeds, right? Because we all want to make money, but we all don't want to expose ourselves to unnecessary risk. And that's why understanding these little nuanced qualitative factors are very important. I mean, you know what, man? I got to tell you, after the 10 years more than 10 years, but after all the time I've spent working on the street, you come to the realization that everybody's perception is inverted. Everybody worries about the front office because of the money and all that stuff, which, I get it. It makes sense. But the reality is that without the back office, the middle office, without that foundation, the money doesn't matter, man. You can't do anything with it because of all the rules and regulations that exist surrounding all of these infrastructure, all these businesses, right? Like you just can't do anything without a back office. Period. Doesn't matter how many billions you got. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah, and like there's just so many layers and levels of how fucking ass backwards everything is with the thought process and how people view things. Like just look at, again, look at crypto and the life cycle that it's gone through. The fact that like JPEGs loosely attached to so much money even existed is like it's beyond laughable. It's fucking mental.
It's bananas. I mean, we're
And this
talking
whole time
about
Hex
buying.
existed.
Yeah,
By the
we're
way,
talking
this
about
whole
buying.
time.
I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. I'm just like I'm so floored because we're
I
talking
know.
people are buying files.
Yes. It's just I could sit here baffled for fucking days thinking about this.
Yeah.
And by the way, like the thing that everyone tells you to do, like the slow, secure, steady thing, that's existed this entire time, by the way. It was called Hex. Like the CD, the savings account that you don't touch, that
You know what's funny? I was
you
thinking
get for your
about that.
kids.
Why is it that people kind of frown on saving, right? Because that's ultimately what it is. People ultimately are frowning on saving. They're not frowning on anything else.
In every market, though. It's not just crypto. It's everywhere.
Not just crypto. It's every market. Because even when I was on the street, right, that or learning and trading or whatever, the mantra was not delaying gratification. It wasn't right. And that do you remember trend following? Yeah, you remember?
Yeah.
Yeah, trend following is kind of a function of that. And people, I understood it. That's kind of what Hex is in a lot of ways. But what I couldn't wrap my head around as a younger individual was just why the negative connotation behind it. And now after, growing up and having a brain and all that, where I could like reflect, I can sit here and look at everything we're seeing now. And this is it. It's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the outcomes and the compounding of this ignorance over so many decades is what gives you a fucking JPEG.
Yeah.
That's what it is, guys. Like, understand it didn't just start yesterday. It's like this whole little subsect of crypto that considers itself so fucking unique, but actually has gambling addiction problems, porn addiction problems, anime, weird fucking hentai or whatever the fuck it is. I don't even know what that is, but like it's just it's a series of mental health conditions that have all gotten together and said, crazy. This is the way to live.
Yeah,
that's all wild, that shit is.
Bro. It's really wild when you sit here and think about it.
Like, it's fucking weird too.
People are just whacked, right? Like they're honestly whacked, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it makes what makes sense out of the equation is I know exactly why most of them are virgins. Holy shit, it's crystal fucking clear why you ain't getting nothing. Like,
you ain't even.
I can see that a mile away.
Yeah, you ain't even trying.
No, dude, no. But yeah, and so that's why you get yield farming from an anonymous team, but turns out to be a 13-year-old with a Twitter account that has no photo, and that is deemed more valuable than like Bitcoin or Hex or ETH or fucking anything, a US dollar.
Man, anything.
That was deemed more valuable because like, well, duh, like we want it to be, we want it to be anonymous. Come on, Jay, get with the program. So yeah, dude, that hyper ignorance is birthed out of this, decades of this happening.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of wild to think about it, right? But I mean, you're not wrong.
I mean, it is like to just sit and actually digest that is so fucking. I don't know.
Sucks,
I don't know what to say about it.
It's kind of rough, yeah. Because I mean, that's what I'm doing. I'm here thinking rough, like, dude. Yo, yeah, you're right,
damn,
bro.
Dude,
it's,
right?
Yeah, it's a little tough to swallow because it's like, what, I get mad and I'm like, yo, what the hell have the adults been doing? But then I sit here and think about it, and it's just worse and worse the more I think about it.
They ain't adults, first off.
They're not adults. They're not.
Yeah. So that's what we're up against, guys. That's what you're trying to reprogram in yourself too, though, because understand you're still getting pulled back into that world every fucking minute of every day. There's the invitation. It's like it's the same as a prostitute standing on the corner half naked. They're trying to drag you back in. Come on back in. It's the same
100%.
shit.
100%.
So
and it's not
that's what we're
stop.
up against.
It's not stop in many ways, right? It's not just one way. It's in every way possible. It happens in your food. It happens in your water, right? It happens in your entertainment, in your literature, and anything, right? That's how it happens.
Yeah. So it makes total sense, by the way, that so many people don't get it. Like, and it takes them a long time to like maybe tune into streams and pay attention to what we're talking about. And finally, the light bulb goes off because we're literally talking about everything that you think is true is completely not. It's like some Matrix shit. Like they weren't too far off, man. Like everything you think to be true is mostly bullshit. Textbooks, history, the way things work, how time works, you know, how we're taught to think of things in a horizontal timeline in terms of time. It's all wrong.
Yeah,
it's all fucking wrong.
All of it. It's
and
kind of crazy,
that's a tough pill to swallow.
Yeah, it's tough to swallow for people because, you know, you think you want, you know, and I get why it's a lot for some people. You know, a lot of people claim to want the truth. It's kind of like when you're in a relationship with a girl, right? She tells you, you need to tell me the truth, blah blah. And you'd be like, "You're really sure about that?" And then, as a young person, you actually make the mistake of telling one girl the truth, and then you're like, yeah, nah, they don't want."
Yeah,
the
I mean, dude, at that point, yes, it's the same shit. Is there's layers of actually how much do you really want to know? How much do you really want to care and know? And definitely in a situation like that, like you think you want to know, but you really don't. You don't really want to know what's going on in the dark edges of her fucking phone. You do not want to know, dude. Trust me.
No, they don't.
So just continue to be stupid, have your fun, and move on. You know, and that's it.
Yeah, because that's the funny thing. People be acting like it's some life or death situation, and it's really not. Just enjoy yourself. Like life is too short to be the, you know, like, you know what's crazy? It's like you can't be too serious, but you can't be too fucking lackadaisical either. You know what I mean? Like you got to find that balance.
Middle ground, man. Like the Hindus and Buddhists got it right, dude. Middle ground is the fucking way.
Yeah, you really do. You really got to find that balance so you're not wrecking yourself, because it's so easy to just get I mean, how do we get to 2022 or 2020? You know, I think about that all the time. That thought drives me like a madman because I don't get it. You know, and I've been thinking about that for I don't know, as long as I can think that thought. Because
for as much as I get it, I don't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just when I think, oh, this totally makes sense, I just hit with like a new layer of like, fuck, man, really?
Literally.
Like the NFT thing really fucks me up. When I chill out and just like sit with that, that really fucks me up.
Do you know why that's possible though? That's possible because we've had a generation of people where their understanding of value is purely digital, is virtual. You know, it's not like ours where we grew up in a physical time. You know, we grew up in a time where the world really transitioned. People after us, you know, like even my sister, man, like to her, she doesn't really get it, but it like she understands it a little bit more than say I would.
Yeah.
For example, because I don't get that virtual aspect of it. But
I love what it represents. Yeah, I love what it represents. And where it's going to ultimately take things. That like it's the ultimate like test of like, let's see how ridiculous we can make this. Like just you thought pet rocks were bad, right?
Oh
no.
God.
We can do better.
No,
pet JPEGs. Better. We can do way better. So pet JPEGs, I think, is probably the ultimate test of like just how ridiculous can we go. And then we'll back off from there, and there's going to be some beautiful things created and wrapped around non-fungible tokens. That's like the upside to all this. It's like where this takes us, especially when we're talking about hiding from securities laws and fucking IRS and different things like that. Where NFTs take us is going to be a magical fucking place with unicorns and rainbows. Trust me. But you know, we had to go through fucking JPEGs to get there.
Yeah, which is crazy.
You had to go through the dark alley to get to, you know, the garden.
To the light.
Yeah, dude, 100%. 100%.
I mean, it's just interesting, right? Because here we are defining something that has a strictly defined value metric, right? And I have it highlighted on the screen called the T-share rate. And that thing just jumped up 755x from 1 minute to the next.
Saw that. That was crazy. I think that's the most ever, right?
That is the most ever after launch phase. And that's really the only one I count. I don't really count anything pre-launch phase. So in my book, that is number one. In terms of it. And guess what? It's just the start. It's really just the first one of many to come.
Mhm.
Because, you know, as the system keeps ticking away, stacking crypto on people's books, as those stakes in, what do you think is going to happen? The T-share rate going to keep jacking up higher. So if you don't have your T-shares locked in, you know, good luck to you.
And that's, you know, we've talked about this ad nauseum. Like, the true value is the T-share. It is the HEX share. And because how the system is created, as the cycle continues and compounds over the years, that number is it's programmed to go up. Just like what's cool about that is that, you know, inflation is programmed to go up. So hopefully you can position yourself to get enough T-shares that outweighs what you're losing in value from how much money they're printing.
Mm-hmm.
And thinning everything out around you, you know?
That's the goal, right? That's typically the goal of investing. I mean,
yeah, that used to be the goal. I don't know if it is now.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
If you read old school books, this is like the common sense shit that they would talk about.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Here to make money.
I don't think they're teaching that anymore.
I don't think so either, man. Looking around, I have my.
I don't think they are. Yeah, I don't think they are. I mean, I got lucky. I went to a school where fixed income was the topic. Nobody cared about anything else. Like stocks were like, yeah, that's there, that's cool. So I got lucky. A lot of people don't get that lucky when they go to college and and go to finance and stuff like that. Was my introduction, so I got lucky.
Yeah, you really did. Like, you got to see that, then pivot to stocks, now pivot to crypto, then pivot to whatever imaginary bullshit comes next.
I got really lucky. Yeah, I didn't realize.
You got the best of every fucking every piece of that. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, because I learned things in the proper order. You know, I didn't learn stocks first. Stocks to me was some foreign shit. So it was pretty cool because everybody else was like, yeah, this is just data. Yeah, everybody else was, you know, natural for them, but not for me. For me, everything else, all the quantitative stuff was natural for me. Stocks didn't really make sense. Still don't.
Yeah. And in a lot of ways they don't. They're not supposed to make sense.
Nope.
There's just people gathering around speculating, you know, over emotional energy.
Promise coins, bro.
Yeah, exactly. But while pumping rainbows up their ass, thinking that there's like some fundamental or technical tricks to what's happening.
Yeah. Yo, the funniest thing, bro. Look, I remember having these freaking. Now, look, I used to be a fundamental analyst on the street, right? And for those of you that don't know, those are the guys that write the long ass drawn out research reports talking about every little iota about everything a company does, from management to the production. Okay, so
yeah,
I can top down. So I can break crap down if I need to. Okay, so understand, it's useless. Okay, it's a skill that's useful, however, in practice, useless. Because what I ended up discovering was that it didn't matter. Because over time, stocks only do one thing. And the only thing a company has to do is not lie. And they will be successful. Period. And if they lie and they get caught, well then, you know, hope you exit it before then.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't even say it's not lie. It's just don't get caught lying. That's a better way to say the same thing.
You're right.
Well, you would think, but in that world it's different. So I would say that it's different. But yeah, it's just don't get caught.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a really great point. Is that, you know, fundamentals essentially don't. I hate to say it doesn't matter, because fundamentals had its time under the sun.
In stocks, they don't matter any longer.
Yes. For a certain window of time, fundamentals really did work, and they worked really well. And for a certain segment of time, like if you go back to like the original new market wizards, those guys that were trading up in the early 70s, early 80s, technicals went through their time to shine. Fundamentals went through their time to shine. Now, a combination, it's interesting. Now a combination of both give you good direction, give you a good idea of what's going on.
Well,
but it's
I
not
don't know
like
if
it's
you
going to spell it
remember.
out for
Do
you.
you remember? Damn, you know what would be cool if we did like some type of. Nah, they're not ready for that. Do you remember the first book? When they were talking, the Michael Marcus chapter. Remember his chapter? I remember his chapter very
Maybe.
distinctly. All right, so
Okay. Run me through it.
in his chapter, he talks about how he really nails those big moves. Right? Now, how does he nail those big moves? Well, the big thing for him was not just TA. And guess what? On the flip side of that, it was not just fundamentals. It was literally combining both. Now, this is a person that started with maybe a couple $1,000s in the 70s, grew his bankroll to 30,000, got picked up by one of the biggest and best, baddest ass trading houses to ever come out of that era. That spinned off the likes of Paul Tudor Jones, Bruce Kovner, and others. Michael Marcus is probably the best trader you never heard of.
I agree.
Best trader you never heard of, yeah. Because he kicks everybody else's ass. Warren Buffett, everybody. Period. Hands down. Because he does not play these little games. He's just out there straight kicking ass and taking names.
And you know what's funny is that he's looking at technicals and saying, okay, that's giving me these pieces of data. He's looking at fundamentals and he's saying, okay, this is giving me these pieces of data. And then the last piece, if we want to separate it out,
he's building a mosaic.
Yes, they're looking at sentiment. They're looking at not how do I feel. He doesn't give a fuck about how he feels about what the market's doing. What is everyone else feeling? And that's a key piece as well. And each one of these is giving him an uptick. And based on that, he's getting a picture. And he's executing decisions based on that picture. And that is echoed throughout every single successful trader. And they also did the new Market Wizards Fund Manager Edition. And that's the same story echoed over and over again as well.
I haven't read that one.
Is that these were guys that paid attention to the market long enough, picked out that, look, it's a combination of these pieces, technical, fundamental, and sentiment. What's the market feeling? And then based on those, we get a picture. We get a snapshot of what's going on in real time, and then we're making decisions based off that. That's it, dude. Like, that's the magic. That's what every single one of them did. Some combination of that. Maybe they put a little bit, the actual proportions of spices to make the meat is different for every single one of them. But they're using the same spices.
I mean, I got to tell you, bro, we're here talking about this stuff, and this is from 40 years ago.
Yeah.
This is how timeless that information is.
It is.
Right.
Like you can go back and read Stock Operator, which is one of the very first most popular fucking books ever written about trading stocks and investing.
I've read that book at least 5 times because that
Benjamin Graham's book. Yeah. All that shit.
Stock Operator, I think, is my best one.
I think so too, yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the best ones because it really talks about looking at the tape, like what these guys are seeing, what they're thinking as the tape is doing, what it's doing. Like, what is he looking at in the market sentiment, right? And the big picture, like in real time at that time. And if you know your history, you can relate it and then be like, oh shit, okay.
Yeah, that's what he was seeing. Oh shit, he saw this oil thing happening, this disaster happening, this currency failing. Oh, he saw that. And like the biggest thing I would say that they were able to do is stop treating their emotions as truths.
Yes.
Which is wildly what you see the exact opposite of nowadays is everyone's emotions is fucking currency apparently. So how I'm feeling and what I want you to be in the world around me to behave is now all of a sudden like the ultimate fucking truths, depending on who you talk to. But back then, and I would say if you want to be successful, investing, trading, whatever, is that you have to get really fucking good at drawing a clear line between the two things. Is that your emotional shit that's being stirred up based on what you like and don't like about the facts that you're seeing have nothing to do with and should have nothing to do with your trading.
Yep.
It's just like, oh wow, that's interesting.
Yo,
I don't fucking like this. I don't like how I feel.
I love. You know what other book? Let me know if you read this one. Mark Douglas's. Damn it, what's the name of the guy's book? Trading Psychology or something like that. Psychology of Trading.
Possibly.
Mark Douglas. You from the 80s.
Let me look through my.
I know you probably read this one.
I'm gonna look through it right now. Actually.
Yeah, because there's no way you haven't. There's no way. Hold on, let me pull up my Amazon. Because I know I can just find it real quick, just by searching it. But that's one of that one book right there, bro. Oh, that's the one book that really, like, for futures, like, it really. When I read that book, like, I was probably like a few years in. I had made some money. I had lost some money, but I was like, oh, I knew I was missing something, you know. And it's like, well, what the hell is it? What am I missing? Because you don't really know, right? Until somebody's pointing it out and you go through certain things, you don't really know. Oh, so Brett Steenberger, remember his books too? Psychology of Trading. He also has one called Psychology of Trading also.
Yeah. I like that one. I like somebody just put in the chat, Trading in the Zone. That's a fucking classic book
Trading
too.
in the Zone is another one. Yeah, that's another one. That one is Ari Kiev, I think, Trading in the Zone. Let me look that one.
A good newer one too is Mastering the Market Cycle by Howard Marks. That's a newer one.
Howard Marks. I've read almost all of his stuff. I don't even need to read that.
So
you know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. If you want to look
forever.
if you want to talk about like cycles and being able to, understand that bigger macro piece.
Since the 50s.
Yeah, dude, that's a good book to read. 100%. Because, okay, so why does all this matter? All this matters is because you can't see your own bullshit until, so you either need somebody in your corner pointing out every single piece of your own bias and how it just played out in your life, or you need to have somebody kind of slap you in the face at a 40,000 foot view, and then you start to get these aha moments. And hopefully these streams provide that in a lot of ways, but it's extremely hard to have self-awareness because the voice inside your head is part of the lie in telling you that you're fine, you're right, this is correct, keep pushing, whatever it's telling you, right? So that inner voice is part of the lie. There's another voice that's a lot smaller that is truth, and that one barely gets enough time to talk because the loud fucking ego voice that's in your head all the time with the monkey chatter is the one that's getting the predominant airtime. So you start to believe that one more, naturally, makes sense. But that one's usually wrong.
Yep.
That one's usually way fucking wrong, dude. That's also the one that's telling you that first gut check response that you're about to go do or go react with. That's also telling you to do that one when we all know that one's usually wrong.
100%.
So it's things like that crafting and that chiseling away to expose the fucking diamond is where the money is made. In any market. That's with what we're doing with HEX, with whether you're trading, you fucking love Bitcoin, whatever your thing is, dude, it doesn't really matter. That's where the most amount of time is spent, is chipping away at the diamond to expose your own bullshit to yourself, catch it, and not allow it to negatively affect your trade plan. That's it, dude. That's it.
So Trading in the Zone is by Mark Douglas. He also has another one called The Disciplined Trader.
I don't think I read that.
I haven't read that one.
Yeah.
But there's another one by this old head. I'm trying to remember his name. Ari something. There's so many good books, man.
I know there is. And really, if you want, so it's when I wanted to get better at writing copy, I actually first I started with copywriters, but then I realized no, it's actually storytelling. Oh, so it's the hero's journey, which is what Hollywood uses. Oh, no, it's actually psychology. Oh no, well, psychology is actually bullshit. It's actually NLP. Yeah. So I often say there's a deep structure to everything. So the deep structure of linguistics and words, a lot of that can be found in NLP. Okay, so the same thing here. So how to be successful at trading? Well, it ain't gonna be fucking following the latest paid pump and dump group, dude.
Nah.
Get a fucking clue. It's gonna be found in the very first trader, and that guy's books, and the guy who was trading before fucking trading markets existed. Those are the guys you want to listen to because they're gonna give you the fundamental and the foundation of how you should be operating in markets. And everything after that is just watered down dog shit. Just like everything after like NLP, for the most part, is watered down dog shit. It's just a variation of that. Like, think about it. Like, go back and research this shit. Like, psychology had a 0 success rate until they started pulling stuff from hypnosis and NLP.
Huh.
Most people don't even know that.
Yeah,
but their success rate was like fucking 0 before they started actually integrating in phobia training and things that actually worked to help people get over shit.
That's a good point, bro. I never thought about it like that.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Like, that's where I spent a ton of my time training. And so what's funny about that is all of that whole market, that whole niche, whatever you want to call it, has everything to do with being successful as a person, doesn't it?
100%.
Being a happy, but more importantly, being a happy person.
Yep.
Which is what we all want. We just want to be happy motherfuckers at the end of the day, right?
Think you're gonna find it elsewhere, not in yourself. That's the trap.
Yes, dude. It all starts within. So I mean, we're going into some fucking self-help shit now, but
well, that's the thing, bro. It is self-help because there is no other way around it.
Yeah, it all starts there.
It starts there. Look, how did I find any modicum of success to the point where I could even understand and relay this information so others can understand it? Because that requires some level of success, period. Right? Like, that means I put in work, I process information, and I can understand and relay it. Right? That requires some effort. Just like you did, right? That requires some effort on my part. It just goes to show. Well, it just goes to show that anybody can do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Real quick, Hex Boy recommendations on NLP books. Anything from Richard Bandler, who's basically him and Grindler created NLP. Any of his early stuff. And then Tad James did something called timeline therapy. And that is fucking amazing. If you want like the ultimate life hack to go and reprogram negative events in your life and release emotional traumas, Tad James and his timeline therapy. There it is right there.
Boom. There you go, folks.
I mean, that shit is mental with how good it works. So basically, it's just a process to go in. Yeah. And we giving you all the alpha on this shit.
Yep.
Damn, dude.
That is major alpha. That's the funny thing.
It is, though. It is. Like, it's so powerful. They should be teaching that in like first year of school.
100%.
Like, hey, shit's gonna happen in life, and you're gonna have a perspective of it, and most likely it's wrong. So here's how you reprogram that positively so that you can release any, because like these tensions, these emotional traumas have muscular connections. They have connections with behavior patterns, obviously. Like, every part of who you are is shaped from these things. Now, how cool would it be to go and change that so that you could be happier, healthier, like from a physical body standpoint, from an emotional standpoint? Well, there you go.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting. I think about happiness all the time because it seems so elusive for everybody.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm constantly like in and out because you try to overexert yourself to try to think you can do more than you can, and you got to just realize there's only but so much you can do as an individual. So when I put myself back in that zone, I'm like, okay, I'm good, I'm happy, right? Because you want to just change everything and you can't. You want to do all these things and you can't. No matter who you are, no matter what those things are, right? You can only do what you can do, and that's the point. You can't do more than that.
Yeah, and it's this constant battle of being present, not being present. Being happy and satisfied with your efforts, with what you can control, focusing on what you can control, and not being happy with it. And we just ping pong back and forth. So happiness is usually found somewhere in the middle. And so it's like, so I think a lot of people get it mixed up. Like, they hear these streams with me and you, they think we're not happy. Like, I'm a happy motherfucker. Let me just make that crystal clear. There's a ton of stuff I'm unhappy with. There's a ton of, like, when we start to talk, I start to have these desires of changing things and wanting to see the world be better, be different, not better, but maybe just different than what it is now. And so those frames creep in naturally. But the core foundation that I have in my life is I'm pretty fucking happy. Yeah, and that's an important thing to take away from this. Is like, there's all kinds of shit I want to see different, but I'm happy with where I'm at because I have no choice but to be happy. So there's like this level of acceptance you have to come to as an individual, that all this madness, all this insanity, all these things we want to do, be, see, are happening and those feelings are flowing through us. But we have to be grounded and understand that, like, right now, where I'm at is exactly where I should be. Otherwise, I'd be somewhere else. So
Yeah.
I'm happy.
And you wouldn't be having the impact and the effect and all of that fun stuff that you hope to have in the world.
Yeah.
Like, you just wouldn't be having it.
Like, it's tough to explain that because we're essentially trying to explain the key to life, the key to happiness. Because the key to life, I think, is happiness for most people. And so trying to explain that in the layers of it with the depth of understanding is very difficult. But hopefully, in general, that made sense with what we were just saying.
I mean, it's not about being content. It's about being satisfied, living, and knowing that you're living to your fullest and
Yes.
not taking shorts on yourself and, pretty much just not selling yourself short and ensuring that you're living life, how you want to. Which just sounds simple, but it's
yeah,
not.
it does. And I think that's a simple way to explain is like when you rest your head on the pillow at night, make sure it's because you're tired and make sure that you're satisfied with how the day went. And if you're not, reprogram those events the way that you wanted them to happen and then go out the next day and apply those things and attempt to be better. That's it. That's it, dude. That's the trick. NLP stands for neuro-linguistic programming, by the way. Somebody asked that in the chat. But it's funny how Richard has a master's in fucking NLP. Hey, big surprise that somebody going out and actually making change in the world deeply understands linguistics and fucking words. Wow. Shocker.
Not a coincidence.
And it's funny how that one individual has now attracted a community, which is the true value in this whole fucking thing, is he's attracted a community of motherfuckers who also are into those things and have a high affluence in those areas.
Huge into words. Huge.
Wow.
Right? I was out here telling motherfuckers what nice meant before they even knew that shit was not something they should be using. You know what I mean?
Yes. And so let me just give my quick thoughts on that. There's a big difference between being nice and being a good person. They are fundamentally different. Being nice is a weakness. Being a good person is what you want to strive to be. That's it. Simple.
Yep, pretty much. Don't get easier than that. I mean, that's just what it is, right? Because people get caught up in and I think a big part of it is just people not being able to distinguish reality from fiction. In all honesty, because fiction is everywhere. And everybody, everybody is used to being miserable, not being happy, and always wanting to escape. And that's the trap.
Yeah, which is what creates consumerism. That's what creates
right.
These external things will create internal happiness. Oh, I'll just go buy something.
That's it. I remember when I was a kid, man, I would fucking buy crap, right? Just like anybody else. And I'd be like, oh, man, this is cool. I'm going to get this stuff. And, like 20 minutes later, I was like, who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It's like everyone knows that feeling of like, you put in so much emotional energy into going and getting this thing. You just thought that it would just fucking change you and it would, make everything different.
Yep.
Then you got it and nothing was different.
Nothing.
And if you don't stop and take pause in that moment, you will keep repeating that over and over again. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know grown adults, like men, women in their fucking 60s, 70s, still thinking that works. Imagine that, dude.
It's crazy, man. No, full and well, it does not. And they see the results.
Early. All that being said, we are fucking early, guys. With everything. Life, happiness, fucking Hex. Jesus Christ. We are fucking early, dude. It is mind-blowing how early. Because all of these systems that we are talking about all the time, these things that seem so distant and so outside of coming back to Hex, they're not, dude. They are one. They are one. All this shit stacks on top, integrates into itself, and gives you a indication of where we are at as a people, and that reflects then and gives you an indication of where we are at with this little tiny asset way the fuck over here called Hex. It all plays into each other, man.
Yeah, I mean, it ties together because of the goal you're trying to achieve, right? I mean, you're trying to find freedom. And the thing about it is, it's just not that simple because you don't even know the life that you're living in the first place because you don't understand the bare minimum of what reality is. And that's because everything you do know is misinformation, and that's the catch.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's like it's almost like hex.
yeah,
Hex is as simple as or complicated as you make it.
yeah.
Happiness is as simple as or complicated as you make it. Life is as simple as or complicated as you make it. It's literally it's a reflection of the same fucking journey that you go through as an individual. Is there? That's what's so genius about what's been created here with Hex. And again, it takes an individual that understands semantics, linguistics, etc., to create something like that, which creates that inner mirror effect of life itself into an asset, into a mathematical coded contract. That's the true head fuck of all this.
I mean, it's ingenious, man.
It really is. Like, sit with that fucking thought for a while.
It is, because, you know, when you sit here and you think about what everybody wants from an asset, this does it.
Yes. And so let me give you another piece here. Is I've traveled around the world and met with really holy people that don't have a fucking YouTube account and they don't have a Twitter account. And they are people that, like, I had to go through, 5-10 people to get to that I would have never been able to find by myself. And those people, the one thing I will tell you that they all had the ability to do was to take complex shit and make it very simple.
Yeah. Important skill.
And this is the same thing you see here. Life itself, it can be as complex or simple as you make it. Hex can be as simple or complex as you make it. So there is a lot of genius. Don't like write that off. There's a lot of genius in what's been created here, because just in the same way that you're able to sit down with these holy men and they're able to explain the depth of the fucking universe, your life, happiness, all this shit, and they're able to break that down in such a simple way. That's the magic, dude.
Yeah, it's not easy.
That is the fucking magic. And it's not easy. It takes a long fucking time to, like, get to that point, or like how many lifetimes, who knows, these people have lived to, like, get to where they are now to be able to do that. But it is not easy.
No, it's not. I mean, when I think back at the choices I used to make and how I used to go about making them, and what I thought I was thinking that made sense. I mean, you just come to the realization that you really just, man, you are living in a, and this is something I tell people, and it sounds borderline disrespectful, and I get it, but trust me when I tell you, you really don't know anything about anything if you're not searching for information constantly about everything. It's just what it is.
Yeah, like that doesn't need to be an insult. It's funny how a lot of times an observation is seen as an insult. And because a lot of times it's both, only because you emotionally associate and tie something to it. But yeah man, a lot of times an observation is seen as a fucking insult. That's a big thing, big key right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it ties into everything, right? I mean, again, people project more than they realize, right?
Yes.
Because, look at everything that happens just on TV. All of that is projection. This is what other people are doing, not them, as they claim. But in reality, it's them doing it nonstop.
Yeah. And there's so many, like, little articulate pieces to that, though. It's the way that you say things that also give people a huge indication and a huge doorway into who you are as an individual. It's just the way that I talk and frame sentences. It's the, my outlooks of the world, my assumptions that are baked into the sentence structure that I use. All those things, subconsciously, whether you realize it or not, you're getting a huge amount of intel on how somebody is, who they are, based on how they even frame a sentence.
Very true.
And that's why it's like, then you have this happen a lot, to where that's seen in different ways, right? So that's why social media and emails and written word is so dangerous, is because it is portrayed a million different ways based on the assumptions and the ways that people see that sentence. And that gets us into trouble a lot. Like, I really wish that it's like, with important conversations, I'll give you another piece of advice. Don't fucking do it in text, please. Just sit down with them face to face or call them. And I can assure you that you'll have a much better result than doing it in text.
100%. I mean, it's
and we've seen that even within the community. How
yeah,
many times has the written word gotten people into trouble in the Hex community? It just happened with fucking RG a couple weeks ago that he had to come out and then explain himself again. It's like, dude, the written word sometimes gets you into trouble. It's better to just speak it.
Yep. Context is king, as I like to say. No context, no clue. So poo for you. All right, let's answer this question. So here's how it works. Short answer is yes and no. Yes, because people could very easily just sell on a reactionary basis. No, because the way Hex works is it's decorrelated from everything else. So what that means is, because we expect the dollar to do what it does, which I think about 55 or 60% of the liquidity pool is tied to the dollar. Because of that, it's significantly weighted over there. That means that the effect that Bitcoin and Ethereum are going to have on price, while still some, is not going to be as impactful. So long story short, it's going to really depend on the liquidity pool mix at that point in time, and what people decide to do if they do see that the price is going down. Because again, Hex is a purely decentralized market. So if people like Briz decide to sell part of his liquid bag,
he's the fucking truth engine in the chat.
Right,
I love it.
Right. Then yes, the price is gonna go down.
Yeah. And so it's like, okay, let's look at the broader market. Bitcoin's supposed to be the safe haven, right? Fucking gold is supposed to be the safe haven. Then how come in the eye of war, in the eye of hyperinflation, those things did not happen?
Oh my God. I've been thinking about that shit for like motherfucking months. Right? And I've been talking about it for months. And average person isn't gonna get that. So I'm not talking about you guys, but for people that profess to be, market participants or just knowledgeable in markets, I haven't heard a single freaking person talk about that. So
and so the gold bugs gotta avoid it. The Bitcoin maxis gotta avoid it, because then they look stupid. Because once again, it proves that like going all in to a retarded degree into something, it just is never the key. It's always middle ground. So when I overcommit to like, oh my God, like Bitcoin is the answer to fucking everything, and Bitcoin fixes this, is the response to every problem in the world, but then Bitcoin goes from 69,000 to fucking 29,000, we look stupid. We look really stupid. So yeah, I would just say that the macro market is doing things that technically, and I put in quotes, it's not supposed to be doing. So Hex will probably follow that to a degree as well. So for as much as it's decorrelated, like mathematically decorrelated, emotionally it should be as well, it probably won't always behave that way. Make sense? And that's like a really shitty answer, but it's like, we see this with Bitcoin, is it's gone through periods and points in time where it's 100% correlated to S&P. Right now it still is too. Then we see it go through periods where it's not. Now those periods where it's not absolutely make no fucking sense, because the periods where you think it should not be correlated, it is. And then the points in time when it probably should be correlated, it's not. So it's like, again, deciphering that and the tea leaves in between, I don't know. I don't know if I care personally, but
yeah, I don't really give a shit about Bitcoin. So
yeah. And so those, I care as much about it as I should, because I know that it affects the thing that I have most of my money in, which is Hex. That's the extent of how much I care about those things. And what I care about is the sentiment and behavior. That's it.
Ooh, look at that. Gold to Bitcoin correlation near all-time highs at approximately 84% correlation. Suck it.
Which let's talk about that for a second. The tailwind aspect of this, like in the moments of the disaster, when you think that the asset should be performing in a certain way, it's not. Jeez. But then afterwards, when everyone thinks that it's kind of like when sentiment is relaxed, then it does. that explains what we see right now to a degree. And we've seen that at other points in time, is that it was after Corona that we saw, like the worst of it, that we saw gold and silver positively affected. You know, now here we are again. Like, I mean, they're talking about inflation on every single news segment. You know, we've got Janet Yellen coming out and apologizing. We've got everyone should know that inflation is a fucking problem right now.
Yeah.
So now it's like, now that it's like so commonly known and accepted, now we start to see the positive correlation between metals and commodities and Bitcoin, which is supposed to be a commodity.
I mean, literally from the end of April to now, it's been a positive correlation between crypto and Bitcoin and gold. I mean, that's just insane.
Well, I just think that there's a delay in how these things behave a lot of times. There's, like I said, there's like a tailwind to it.
I mean, look at it. This happened before, right? It's not the first time. It happens all the time. So that's wild. Let's see what it looks like against HEX.
Oh, 43OG is asking a good question. Explain the difference between positive correlation and negative correlation. Wait, where did it just go? Negative correlation.
There we go.
I'll be right back.
Sure. Yeah. So positive correlation is when things happen in tandem. So, for example, this period in time is basically when the price of HEX and the price of gold moved in similar fashion. So if you look at the chart, you'll see price of HEX went up, price of gold over here, and let me get rid of this crap. Price of gold, let me make this yellow, just so it looks a little bit. There we go. So yellow line is gold. So as you guys can see, during this point in time, right, where the blue is above the zero line, the middle line, prices pretty much move in tandem, right? So correlation is positive. Then here, they're not moving in tandem. They're moving in opposite directions. You see gold is moving up, HEX is moving down. And because of that, well, this is HEX versus ETH, but same difference. But because of that, correlation is negative, not moving in tandem. So they're moving in opposite directions or not in the same direction at all. And then when it's at zero, that means that it's just kind of doing its own thing. They're just not jiving at all in any which way. So right now, gold and HEX are decorrelated, negatively correlated, meaning that HEX is just not doing what gold is doing. It's doing its own thing. Now, overall, what you got to take from this is, as you look at it, is that it's pretty evenly split between positive and negative correlation, right? It's never really on one side consistently. So what that basically means is that there's no correlation, because the law of average number basically dictates that that's the case. And what's the law of average numbers? Well, let's see. Let's Google it. Law of large numbers. Sorry. Out of average numbers.
Somebody's asking, so is this guy really Steve Buscemi? I don't know. You tell me.
Really what?
He's asking, is this guy really Steve Buscemi?
I
see that comment so much in the chat, dude.
Yeah, it's so funny because it's true. We got it like that over here in HEX. All right. So the theory, probability theory, the law of large numbers, is a theory that describes the result of performing the same experiment a large number of times. According to the law, the average of the results obtained from a large number of trials should be close to the expected value and tends to become closer to the expected value as more trials are performed. Simple enough. I hope. Maybe not. So all that's to say, over time, the correlation is zero because this is never either up or down. It's always in between. And that's what the law of large numbers is basically saying. Because the average of the results obtained from a large number of trials should be close to the expected value and tends to become closer to the expected value as more trials are performed. So, hope that makes sense. Yeah, sorry if I went too deep on that. Oh, let me close this. This should not. All right. So yeah, that's what's up with the correlation. Now, when you're looking at what the hell is the other stuff? Stocks. I mean, they're just hanging on for dear life. So, and interestingly enough, what are they correlated with? Gold. I mean, when stocks and gold are correlated, you gotta really worry.
Yeah, I mean, it should be very, very short point in time, like when I think it's weird, like if we look back left, that big dip, it looks like that's the 2020 Rona dip.
Yeah.
Gold dip too.
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't have, but it did. But like points in time like that, like should be very, very small, like one trading session, you know, a day or two, like that's it, man. And if they go on longer than that, then it should become even more concerning when commodities and risk assets, risk liabilities, let's call them, are lining up like this.
Yeah, because that's definitely what they are, risk liabilities, for sure.
Yeah, so that's weird. That's like that's freaky.
Yeah, I mean, I remember in 2015 when risk parity funds started really taking a hit. That's when Ray Dalio really started looking funky and not as hot as he used to. And gold was like just going down. It wasn't going up when it was supposed to. And this was a function of that. You know, how does something that's supposed to perform just not perform because the market is not what you think it is?
Yeah, and it takes a long time for that to like snap back. Like the reality of that to actually show itself in the market. And legacy usually takes a long time. Yeah. What's weird, I guess the weirdest part about that is just that crypto behaves on that same slow time frame. That just, to me, that's just kind of weird. It doesn't need to, but it does.
Well, I think it's just a reaction of market participants realizing the connection.
Yeah, and like they're once again late in a trade. So retail is once again the sucker.
Yeah, because that's institutional players got all day and night. They're not in a rush. That's their job.
Yeah. Like what's interesting about right now is like you even have like really, really great traders that are just like, yo, I don't even know what the fuck is gonna go on next. Like the Dalios, etc. And JP Morgan Trade Desk is usually a pretty good indicator too, because they seem to just know everything. But like for example, JP Morgan's not overly long or short right now. They're pretty neutral actually. And Dalio, it's like when so we're in trouble when you got a guy like Dalio who will come on to attempt to explain how he sees the market right now, and it takes him an hour to explain it because he's got to talk about the woke culture and the divide politically happening in America. He's got to talk about the fact that there's technically a war happening right now in Ukraine, Russia, but nobody really gives a shit. And right now, Russia's making more money now with sanctions than they ever did before. And so it's like, it takes him so fucking long. Then he's got to talk about China. He's got to talk about like 15 different fucking things to help explain why he feels what he feels right now.
Yep.
And it's getting longer and longer. That's the problem. It's taking more and more time for a guy to explain his macro thesis. Yeah. It's taking more and more time to explain that shit. So it's like, next thing you know, it's going to be like a 3-hour-long conversation just to get to the point where he's like, yeah, I'm bearish.
Yeah, you remember Hugh Hendry? You remember him?
I don't think so, no.
Electrica?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He was another one. Shout out to him if he ever catches this. I used to love that guy. I learned a lot from that guy because he was no nonsense. Man.
Dude.
He's truly an original thinker.
Yeah.
Little offsides nowadays, but he'll catch up. It's all good.
Yeah, and you see that happen a lot. It's like you'll see a traditionally really good guy get caught out of bounds essentially for like a really long time. Like Warren Buffett, I think, has been pretty out of bounds like for probably the last 3, maybe 4 years. Corona was like
longer
Corona
than that.
Was the really big indicator. Like if you weren't paying attention,
you don't remember that he bought the IBM top in like 2011 or something like that, or when the hell was that? 2014? I can't remember when it was, but he bought that a while back. IBM top. Yeah.
That's a really good point.
He's been out of the game for a minute, man. I don't know what I feel like his trades have been politically motivated, not monetary motivated.
Yeah, I feel like he's in this place to where like he's got to take trades and stuff because somebody's telling him to, and there's like this bigger agenda that he's got to play ball on.
Yeah,
because
you
some
don't
of his
really
shit just
have.
doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. So
You know what I mean? Like this whole like
yeah,
I feel like he's in too deep with Gates and giving away his
of course.
money, whatever that thing that he fucking signed up to do, giving away all of his billions. I feel like he's in way too deep in that shit. And so those people are in his head convincing him to take trades that are fucking stupid.
Well, I think the whole point is for him to be a pawn if he is one, and if he's not, then he's definitely a co-conspirator. So
Yeah, at this point.
either way, yeah, either
I
way.
think that really shifted when he got a inner seat at the table to help the banks create a plan to get out of 2009. When that happened, as a trader, I think he fundamentally changed. Like
hmm
his entire fucking shit changed after that point. If you go back and look.
Yeah, it did. I used to think the guy knew some stuff. Then I
Yeah.
realized he didn't.
So it's like, and then even like now, just there's just like weird oddities that like you see come up through the cracks. Like his strong stance against crypto is weird, and against Bitcoin is just really
Exactly,
weird.
but that's the
Like,
kind of thing, yo. Like
yeah,
you look. I'm gonna tell you what, brother. My whole existence in capital markets has been straight macro. I have never given a rat's ass about anything else. And this is one of the main reasons why I only did one stint on the buy side, and that was it because I got stuck in a sector focused hedge fund. And it's hard to break a mold once you get put in one.
yeah,
In that world.
yeah.
So
It is. Yeah, it
you
is.
know, it was a battle that I was gonna be tough for me to break. Anyway, long story short, I've made it my business to learn this game. Okay, so macro is all about finding the right trade. Period. Doesn't matter if it's in equities. Doesn't matter if it's up your ass.
Hmm.
Period. It's about finding the right trade. End of story. So you're gonna sit here and tell me this guy who's supposed to go down in history as one of the greatest macro persons ever is going to miss the most obvious macro trade ever?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't think so, bro.
yeah.
I don't think so. This is
Exactly.
obvious. To somebody of his caliber, this is the obvious trade. So for him to dismiss it repeatedly lets me know he has no choice but to do so.
Yeah. Yep. 100%, man.
As crazy as that sounds.
Hmm. All right. Well, let's as we're talking about worthless macro, I guess
Yeah.
a big one that I could cover really quick is so the Fed was supposed to start quantitative tightening QT in March. They didn't, and so let's catch up on what they just spent in May. It was 194 billion,
Nice.
and in treasuries and 32 billion in mortgage-backed securities that they purchased for the month of May. Now everyone's talking that now it's really supposed to start. It looks like they actually are kind of starting to, like if we look at the Fed purchases, it looks like it's starting to wind down.
Mm.
But they are now, I guess, again, supposed to officially start QT. But understand that those numbers for May are 54 billion over their own estimates that they had for May. If you look at, if you remember, they shared their outlook for what they would be purchasing for MBS and USTs, and they were over even their own estimates by quite a bit. 54 billion is like, I mean, we're not missing the end zone by like a couple yards. You
Yeah.
know, we're missing that motherfucker by a mile.
Totally.
So, yeah, man. So that's kind of interesting, I guess. Take it for what it is. In terms of like, does that have a positive or negative effect on the market? Okay. We have a market right now that has basically no direction. There's no positive catalyst or negative catalyst. So quantitative tightening, just to be clear, is seen as a negative catalyst and will be a negative outcome because of what they're doing with the money. Now, it'd be different if they weren't propping up the stock market by buying, but they are. So when they stop buying, who's going to be there to buy? That's the obvious, most simplest way I can break that down. So probably what you could expect at a high hit rate is that markets will go down as they actually start to do quantitative tightening. But what's good, the good news is that your value, your US dollar value, should go up because
Yeah.
they're getting rid of supply. So the value of what I can get for my shit should go up, essentially, in
Yep.
theory.
They have to reverse the inflationary pressures. However,
Yeah.
pretty much. So to answer your question, Mr. Frank, what happens to the market when Sailor gets liquidated?
I think that's what he meant,
Um,
even though he wrote liquidity.
yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
I
that's
think
what
he
he
meant
meant.
liquidated.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what he meant.
What you can expect is like March, what was it? The March event,
March 2020.
2019. I think, no, I'm talking about the 3K dip. What was that, 2019? When Bitcoin went down to 3K because all the liquidity, all the liquidation engines were just fucking up, and it was
Yeah, wasn't that the
supposedly
day?
BitMEX.
Wasn't that? Yeah, BitMEX, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that was 2019. But anyways, you can expect
2018, it looks like.
some
December
disgusting.
15, 2018.
There it is. There it is. I'm mixing up my dates.
Close
So what
enough.
you can expect is something probably similar to that, like disgusting wick. It'll look like a wick on a larger time frame, but you know it'll be disgusting at that
Yeah,
time.
this is 3 days per candle, so it's not gonna look
because
the same.
like he's got to cover that position, and if it does get away from him and he can't put in more to cover that position, then it's like you're going to see a mass selling event from him, and that will trigger retail once again to sell. And a bunch of people that would have never, like right now, they're still diamond hands, you know, fucking holding Bitcoin forever. But as we obviously see, if like okay, let me just drop a quick frame here, is if a Bitcoin maxie's talking shit about you holding HEX for 10 years and making a 10-year stake, they don't get it. Okay, so do you think that they're really going to hold Bitcoin if it goes back down to 10,000 or 15,000? No, they won't. So like, because they can't see you and your power and your strength in committing to a longer term time frame. It should tell you all you need to know. So yeah, don't expect that those guys would even be holding it. So a lot of those OG Bitcoin maxis, whether they're coming out and saying like, you know, just hold on guys, diamond hands, they're fucking selling in the background.
Yeah. So this is an interesting comment. I'm not really a fan of Lynn Alden. She's whatever.
Yeah, I think
she doesn't really have any original thought. She's just like a run of the mill macro person, you know, pro Bitcoin, hoopla, whatever.
Yeah, like if you just want to get some charts, just go look at her shit. She's got no real. That's a good way of putting it. She's got no real original thoughts. She's just like everyone else. She's like a drone.
Yeah, so whatever. That's why they pump her shit.
Yeah.
Like you guys got to realize the people that they put in front of you, they don't put whales in front of you for a reason. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, way too polarizing. They need vanilla down the middle.
Yeah, I'm not trying to give you no alpha, bro. They want you to stay broke. So those are the kind of people you gotta steer clear from. Interestingly enough, at first I thought she was good, but nah.
Yeah, just vanilla.
Yeah,
that's
like, But I'm like, let me ask you, what do you think? Because that's the interesting thing, right? It's like at one point in time, Hugh Henry was undebatable, and nobody could ever match him. And after you just continuously crush people, do you even have to reply anymore? I mean, I don't think so. And she's never been on his level, so I don't really buy the
So that's a good point, because I mean, you've seen Richard do that. He's done that many times where he's just like, he's just laughing and just like, fuck this. And it's almost like a mental laziness to where it's just like, and do I really want to go down this rabbit hole for the millionth time? Nah, fuck it.
Nah, yeah. I mean, come on. How many times?
I don't know if that's like the nail in the coffin for like, that fucking Hugh's done and she nailed him.
I don't agree with that one. That's kind of my point. Like, I think the nail in the coffin for him was when he started making stupid trades.
Yeah.
Like Alden is nobody. She's not. So
that being said, I think there are going to be a lot of people caught off guard when the US dollar does lose its reserve currency, because it probably will.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was just about to say. I was just about to say that, I can talk all the shit I want, but it doesn't matter because everybody's going to see who's who when the tide shakes out, because that's how markets work. I've been saying the same things since I started streaming, and guess what? I've been right, motherfucker, because I'm just giving you the big picture.
Yeah,
this isn't hard. This is easy, actually.
Yeah, I think like just like right now, like, okay, what is more likely, the plethora of black swans to swoop in, fucking monkeypox or whatever the fuck, another war, the U.S. commit to
one
to
after
war.
the next. It's nonstop.
The frequency of that, mass school shootings, like what is more likely, that to continue or abruptly stop and positive news to just swoop in? And what would that positive news be? Peace in Russia? I don't think so.
Yeah, no.
So
I
again,
mean,
it's like playing the odds.
yeah, like think about it. They're not incentivized ever to give you any valid information
Not when,
whatsoever.
especially not when they are getting away with insider trading because they're quote unquote husbands trading and they're making a fucking killing. They
Oh yeah.
really have no
Hold on,
incentive
hold
at
on.
that point.
Yo, how about people like Pelosi, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
All of these politicians make six-figure salaries under 200K. They enter office, no net worth, and they leave six, seven, eight, nine, or excuse me, 7, 8, 9 figure
Seven, eight,
net
nine. Yeah.
worth. I mean, this is happening every single day.
Every
And,
day,
and,
dude.
and this is public information. It's not like I'm making it up.
No. And that's why, like, okay, so talk about like a funny point in the trend that we're at. Okay, we're at the point in the trend to where there's one big player now that all the retail traders and all the guys are trying to use as alpha, and that's unusual whales. Unusual whales is this, I don't know where the fuck they came from, but they basically came out of nowhere, started publishing all the data on senators that were taking positions through their husbands or fucking cousin or whatever the fuck, and they started publishing that, and everyone started using that as edge to make trades. And now they are like the big guy on the market. I don't know if you guys can follow them on Twitter, but they publish all the data of politicians that are taking positions. And now that is I would say that's probably the number one edge that's being used now. I mean, think of it. It went from like, what's the one I remember? Well, I remember it went from Portnoy, Dave Portnoy, he was fucking alpha and edge, to then it was like Reddit, to then
Holy
now
crap.
I guess there's probably some in between. And now we've got fucking politicians taking trades is the ultimate alpha edge right now. Like, holy shit. We're in a dire part of the cycle. That's all I got to say.
That's insane. I'm glad I left that market. Holy smokes. I would have blew my brains out by now.
Oh, yeah, dude. Portnoy was like, he would go on live on Twitter and he'd have thousands of people jumping in to see what he was doing. Because, okay, what is the thought process there? Well, he's investing with millions of dollars. So they thought, oh, he's a whale that has edge.
Right.
Like, again, talk about we're early in the fucking markets. We are very early.
Imagine that guy's done nothing but lost money since he entered the markets. That's crazy.
Yeah, since he became day trader, he has fucking done nothing but lose money.
Tough nuggies for me.
And so then he goes through his own little micro cycle within the bigger cycle of like being the thing, and then getting everyone wrecked, and then everyone fucking hates him and tries to publicly crucify him. Boom, hero down. Then the next hero emerges. Then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. That's all a market does. Props up heroes, eats heroes. Props up heroes, eats them.
Yeah, sure does. Ray Dalio was the king of risk parity, man, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was a king of risk parity, boy. You couldn't tell that $160 billion mega fund nothing.
Nope.
Better shut up when they write or say something. Now, they don't.
And so it's the same shit. So now it's BlackRock and JP Morgan and politicians. But like crypto went through the same thing. It was Arthur Hayes and fucking BitMEX. Then it was CZ. Then it's Sam and FTX. Who will be next? Who knows?
We'll see. We shall see. It'll be quite something, that's for sure. Because you know how that works. They pick them. They sure as hell pick them as best as they can.
Being cryptic, but yeah. If you can read between that, then you know what we're saying.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
No, so you want to talk about this for a little bit? Because this kind of ties into the Mastercard, the BlackRock.
I think all that's going to be perfectly timed.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, it's all going to work out at the same time.
It's going to be like, you ever seen baseball when they do the shoestring catch? Just like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right in time. Right last second.
Right in time.
Gotcha.
That'll go through a period just like Luna, where it completely fucking loses all hope, and then they'll come back up and prop it up with something that feels real to the market. And I think it'll be USDC that sticks around. I don't think Tether USDT is going to stick around. Even though what's funny is that like you hear even big like VC investors talking shit on US dollar Tether. You got a million CoffeeZilla videos about it. Asia and Europe does not give two fucks about it. It is the largest market. It is the largest US dollar Tether or real market based on US dollar in all of Asia.
Yeah.
There is tens of billions of US dollar tether traded every single fucking day. They do not care.
Sure.
But understand that when that rug pull happens, that fucking thing's going to go to 0 too. But Asia will probably, like, I don't know, like sometimes Asia sniffs it out first. I don't know if they will this time around. Who knows? Who cares? I guess is my thought process. I'm not trying to like time it with US dollar tether or US dollar circle. I don't really care personally, but yeah, it'll like Luna. Luna is, they literally just showed you what's going to happen, and it'll happen with every single stable coin for a very small amount of time, and then they'll come back and prop it up with something real, and they'll allow the ones to stick around that have gone through the proper filings.
The proper initiations, you mean?
Yes. It's like all but short of blood sacrifice, man. And the blood is you. The blood is retail. So the sacrifice has been given.
Yep. That's it. That's literally it, man.
So there will only be a few that survive. And which ones? I don't know. Probably, like I said, probably USDC and USDT.
Well, USDC definitely will be one of them.
Yeah, but USDC will.
USDC will definitely be one of them. USDT probably too. Just because.
Yeah, like even though there's so much bad shit about it, I mean, people go to USDT first before USDC in Asia and Europe. So I mean, it's a huge market. That right there tells me that it'll stick around.
Pretty much.
Like I said, even though they fucking hate it and it's got all this shady, weird shit going on in the background, it's no different than the Fed. They just print as they want.
It's no different than USDC either.
Yeah.
It really isn't. It's all the same.
It's just USDC has a better public image for some reason. Less people attacking it. That should be cause of concern. Why is nobody attack USDC when it's the same shit as USDT? Why?
Literally.
So.
But all right, brother. Pleasure as always, and thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys got some value out of this stream. If you did, please hit the like. If you did, please hit the subscribe.
And do it anyways, even if you didn't like it.
Do it anyways, even if you didn't like it. And hey,
I kind of pushed the end, but it's only because I gotta go.
So nah, it's all good. It's all good. Just don't forget, HEX Investment Trust for accredited investors.
Yep.
It
NCA
is always
on cryptoadvisors.com.
Always a good time to buy the dip, folks.
It was created for a reason. It was created for you guys.
Yep. So get with it. Spread the word. Get people into crypto one way or the other. Peace. Right? The reality is that I want to be rich as fuck. There's only one way to be rich as fuck. That's by sitting on your ass the longest. Yep. That's it. Yep. That's the secret. The guy well told you. Richard done told you. I done told you. Kareem done told you. Maddie done told you. Everybody done told you. Everybody done told you. Shit, motherfuckers still acting like they don't know. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
100% safe. There's plenty of games left.
Valiant done told you. Yo, everybody said it. I mean, hey, you know what it is, man? Everybody done told you. Y'all deep, everybody.